panel by and moderated by myself and Dr. Antonio, who I'll introduce him, and he'll also introduce the students in just a little bit and allow them to introduce themselves. We are very excited to have you. No matter how big or small the group is, we're hoping that you'll be able to gain some information and share it with those who are interested in the work that our young men of color are doing both in college, in the community college, and in high school settings. My name is Dr. Vincent Harris. I'm the current director of the Male Success Initiative at Cal State University Fullerton. I've been there for about 5 years, and we're excited to have a group of our brothers here, and they'll tell you more about MSI and our participation and their participation in it. But overall, we are a department that supports the undergraduate, all undergraduate men of color at Cal State Fullerton. And our motto is where men of color can achieve the fullness of their potential. We're excited to be going into our 6th functioning year and looking forward to strengthening our brotherhood. So I'll turn it over now to Dr. Antonio Martinez, who's going to introduce himself and then lead off the panel introductions.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. As Dr. Harris said, no matter how big or how small, we're always going to be here to provide whatever support is necessary for our community and for folks that want to help our communities. And so my name is Dr. Antonio Martinez. I am a counselor at CSU East Bay and a counselor at the EOP program, which stands for the Educational Opportunity Program. I myself am originally from the Bay Area, Richmond, California to be exact. I was a first generation college going student myself. Where I obtained my bachelor's degree at CSU East Bay, got my master's degree at San Diego State, then came full circle and got my doctoral degree at CSU East Bay. We're really excited to have you here, and we're really excited to give you an opportunity to meet our young men, our brothers here, who are going to be sharing some of their experience and some of their stories. And so we will kick it off to them, and I will popcorn it off to Martin Castellon.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Again, my name is Martin Castellon. My major at Cal State East Bay is business administration. I concentrate in information technology. I was born in San Jose, but quickly moved out to a small town called Tracy in the Central Valley of California. Yeah, that's me. I'm a popcorn it to Isaac Alferos.
Morning, y'all. My name is Isaac. I'm a student at Cal State Fullerton majoring in business. I've lived in Orange County my whole life. I'm from Buena Park. And so I'm doing business with a concentration in finance. And I'll popcorn it over to Rodney.
Sorry about that. I'm Rodney. I'm a computer engineering student. I grew up in Inglewood, California, and I go to California State University Fullerton. I'm gonna popcorn over to Marcos.
All right, thank you, Rodney. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcos de Leon. I didn't grow up here. I moved to this country like 6 years ago to be specific. And my major right now is construction management. And right now I live on San Jose, and then hopefully I'm planning to move to Hayward, hopefully, to be closer to school. But yeah, that's me. I corner to Martin G.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Martin Garcia. I am a professional staff member at Arizona State University, working in the TRIO department, working with first-generation low-income students. I was a first-generation college student myself, started at a community college at Chandler Gilbert Community College, transferred over to Arizona State University, got my bachelor's in communication, and then I don't know what made me do this, but I got a dual master's degree in business and one in law. So I'm happy to be here today and share some of our stories with you. And popcorn over to my brother Jackson.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Jackson McCoy. I currently go to Milliken High School. I will be going to Cerritos College, then transferring to Northern Arizona after I finish up my 2 years there. And I will be majoring in business over there. And
nice. Thank you so much, brothers, for the introduction, and Dr. Antonio for your introduction. So I'm going to dive in. Dr. Antonio and I will be your moderators for today. We're just going to go back and forth and ask the brothers some questions. And again, as you're listening to their stories, please feel free to ask them more questions, and we'll save some time towards the end to get to the brothers. So we've broken our conversation up into themes. And the first theme we're going to dive into is talking about campus involvement and a little bit about the transition from community college to university. So we'll start off first with any brothers want to share their experiences around how to get involved more on a college campus. What does your involvement look like? And was it particularly unique for you as a man of color creating space for yourself? So who would like to hop in?
Yeah, I can jump in on that one, Dr. Harris. So when I came to Cal State Fullerton, I came from a background in high school being pretty heavily involved. And so I was kind of looking for a similar experience in college and in my university experience. So I quickly got involved on campus through the support I had in the MSI program at Fullerton, and I got involved in student government. I was able to do some great work helping encourage people to vote and support our communities in voting. And so I've been involved in kind of student government and policy spaces on campus and off campus because of that. But I think one of the things that really shines out for me is that there was a very unique perspective that I think was needed, one that I could bring from my own experience, especially as a man of color. You know, I was doing civic engagement work, and quite often we talk about getting students to vote. A lot of times it starts to ignore the experiences of communities of color and ignore really the history and the impacts that communities of color have had on our, civic landscape, regardless of if we voted or not. And so I think it was important when I came into the space to challenge that notion. I know I worked with a lot of folks who talked about, well, why aren't our Black students turning out to vote, right? And it was helping unpack that and go, well, why do you demand of them to vote more than that? Let's talk about what's the history there. Let's talk about what the cultural implications are there. Let's talk about it from a perspective outside of your own. And so I found that as I got more involved on campus, I also came to understand how necessary it was to bring in a new perspective that I could bring from my own community and from my own experiences. So it helped me grow and develop a lot. But it also, I think by virtue of me being there, forced the systems that I was in to also grow and change as well.
How easy would you say, Isaac, that it was for you to get involved, right? When we think about just the university as an institution as a whole, sometimes it may lack resources or it may lack spaces for young Black and brown brothers to be a part of. So how easy was it navigating that?
Admittedly, it did take a little bit of a learning curve to figure out where I would best fit. There's so many options, which is both that blessing and a curse of there is a space for everyone so long as you can find it. So I think that what helped me a lot was the support network that I had in MSI that helped get me connected and help bring up new ideas and people I met. I would say, from my experience at Fullerton, trying to figure out and navigate that space does require you to take that initiative. Um, these opportunities don't really fall in your lap. You do have to kind of go find them, but there are people who are there to support you, people who are there to help you. I got involved because I was with a friend who was like, hey, let's go to this meeting. And so I went to this meeting and found I really enjoyed it. So I think what became really important was just keeping my options open, being open-minded to things, and allowing myself to follow my passions and things, regardless of how that was seen.
Yeah, most definitely. What would you say are some other benefits you've gotten from just being involved on campus, aside from the impact that you've been able to make on the campus itself? What would you say were some benefits that you yourself as a person has gained?
I know it definitely changed my perspective a lot. It helped me grow, but I also, I got to connect and meet a lot of new people. Some of my closest friends I met because of my involvement. I was really fortunate pre-COVID. I was getting to travel once a month with a delegation, doing work I enjoyed, but it was essentially free travel that I got to go do up and down the state. And I got to meet a lot of great people, build my connections for my career, but also just build a lot of friends. So I think that it was just an overall really fun experience. It helped me in my career, but it also helped me in my personal life, and it helped me meet new people and see the world a little bit differently. So I think it was a really well-rounded experience.
It's a great way to, I think, transition into transitioning, right? When you're traveling along the coast, you figure out what schools and what spaces you may be better fit for you. So I think we have some brothers who have a unique experience of maybe going to a community college and then transitioning over to university. Was that involvement different once you got to a university than a community college? And what did that look like? Does any brothers want to share more about that experience?
Yeah, I'd be happy to take that question. Like I mentioned in my introduction, I started at a community college, and um, I actually graduated high school with like a 2.1 GPA. So I signed up for college classes 2 weeks before they started. My first experience on a college campus was really discouraging, as an advisor kind of basically told me that I wasn't prepared and wasn't college material. It really took a lot for me to step back on campus and um, swallow my pride and really just be courageous and outreach and say, hey, I want to be here even if I don't belong. And I was so fortunate to meet people that were like, hey, you do belong here, and we're going to get you as involved as possible. And so um, I was really connected. That person, his name's Greg Witovich. I always shout him out because he was the person who changed my entire life in college. And he was like, you're going to be the president of HSO, which is our Hispanic organization, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And I was like, dude, I'm just trying to get a degree. And it was so powerful to see someone who was so passionate, right? And so I fell in love with community college, and I fell in love with the clubs and organizations and involvement. And so I built up this system of this brotherhood and this community at a community college. So when I transferred to the university after 2 years, I was so excited. And then on my first day, I felt so alone. And it was like I was starting all over again. And I kind of had this like traumatic flashback of like, all right, I built this in 2 years. Now I'm a junior. I'm trying to get my bachelor's degree. Do I even want to be involved? I went to a grad fair or for fraternities, and I was like, it doesn't make sense. I'm going to be pledging with other freshmen. And I encourage you, don't let that discourage you at all. But for me, it was kind of hard for me. So, but I think the really important thing was for me to find those anchors, right? Find my Greg on campus. Who is that person going to be? Find that brotherhood. And I actually was fortunate enough to reconnect with another mentor on that campus, Jill Went, who's actually here, Dr. Jill Went. And we created another brotherhood. We had a male empowerment network at Chandler Gilbert. We brought it to ASU. And that was our anchor point. So again, I was so happy to graduate from ASU and have that brotherhood and build a new thing and not feel alone like I did on day one. So I just encourage you, when you transfer or when you're starting at a new university or college, you got to find those anchor points. You got to find those advocates, those mentors, those brothers, those sisters, all of those people who want to see you succeed.
Yeah, that was beautifully said, Martin. And I believe Rodney also wanted to also speak on the experience of just the sense of brotherhood and how empowering that can be when you're navigating this journey where you may be the first in your family to navigate this journey, or even if you're not, you're still the first one at that current time navigating it in that specific way. And so would you mind sharing a little bit about your journey and just that connection to sense of brotherhood, Rodney?
Yeah, of course. So brotherhood has like a lot of meanings for me. I came to Cal State Fullerton, and I joined MSI, which Dr. Harris is the director over, and Isaac is also a member of. MSI is the Male Success Initiative at California State University Fullerton, and basically it was it's one of those things to where like you don't really understand it until you experience it, but it's nothing that I've experienced before. And I have cousins and stuff like that. I don't have an actual brother, so with the brotherhood, it allowed us to basically have our own identities, but also be able to mentor others. So we took a retreat, and this was during like the earlier stages of my freshman year, and it just was like eye-opening. It allowed me to connect with other brothers on like an emotional level, rather than just like straight academics and just seeing other people as like classmates and just just like study groups. It allowed us to break down and open up and see that we're all human and we all have other stuff besides class that we go through. We all have families to take care of and whatnot. So that was the first thing that I experienced versus like high school, where you're just kind of seen as like a student and a classmate. And this allowed me to see my other peers as like my brother. They're human. Like we are a whole picture, a whole human, not just put in a box as like a student. And that was really important. And I feel like you should find something that allows you to be, like, it sounds really corny, but like all this makes sense. Find something that lets you be yourself, and that's going to go a long way. and also just respect others as not just like a, when I see you guys as like full humans with full personalities, not just like, oh, they're just here just for MSA. The other thing is mentorship. So brotherhood is also like mentorship. Me as a, like you said, first generation, I couldn't go to my parents, my aunts and uncles and ask them about like college. So that was kind of rough. So just having another man of color or woman of color uh, that has been through college and is able to explain those things to you, that person for me being Dr. Harris is like very, very valuable. And then also on the flip side, having like a younger brother like Isaac for me to talk to and be able to like tell all my brothers like, hey, like, with these classes, do this, this, and that. It makes you feel like you're also important in that person's life. So I feel like mentorship and identity are the two things in brotherhood.
Yeah, that was just really well said, Rodney. And thank you for sharing just how being a first generation college going student can come with its own obstacles and challenges, such as not knowing what you don't know, right? But when you have these brothers and these mentors who can provide you wisdom and insight, it allows for things to become a lot more clear. And I actually wanted to hear a little bit of the perspective from Jackson, who's currently in high school, and just wondering, what does brotherhood look like in your current setting? I know it might be a bit different due to the virtual learning and the pandemic, but maybe prior to that, what did brotherhood look like for you there?
At Millikan, brotherhood means, well, to me, just loyalty. The first people who I met up with when I went to Millikan are the football players. And the football players were honestly great guys. Not only were they cool, but they were smart too. So not only could I hang out with them outside of school, but I can study with them during school. So it really did show me a lot what loyalty really meant to me, because my freshman and sophomore year, I was a quiet kid. So my junior year, I realized that I couldn't be quiet no more. I realized that it's time for me to break out my shell, that it's time for me to, experience the world and talk to other people. And my junior year, I did that by meeting the football guys. And they just really showed me, um, what being a brother means, and, how it feels, because I don't really have a brother. And I like to think of those guys as my actual brothers. So hanging out with them, seeing them, just makes me feel like they're family. So yeah, that really did help me a lot through my junior year. And senior year, I still talk to those guys. Great group of guys. Still study with them too, even though that it's virtual. We have a group chat on Snapchat, Instagram, iMessage. We all FaceTime each other. Go over the homework, go over tests. Before practice even starts, we ask each other if we need any help, or if we got this work done, or just we need to make sure that we got our school first, because if we don't have the grades, then there's no point of playing football, because grades come first, then it's football. So that's what we realized, and that's what we've been doing since junior year.
That's what I'm talking about. Grades come first, then football. Because you're a student athlete, you know what I mean? Student first. But I'm so glad you found that support system. And I think that's a cool segue into our next theme, which is about that support, that information that you got or that you would like to still receive. And I think that Martine C. Has some stories to share around the importance of support systems. What are some ways in which brothers are those working with men of color can understand what support systems work that are empowering, which ones did not work, but what's just the significance of that to you, brother?
Thank you, Dr. Harris. So support systems have helped me and many of like my other brothers around try and succeed. In high school, I was a part of like the AVID program. And so it's like a college prep program that you're with the group of classmates that you're with for your first year all the way to your last year. And those people to me were my family. Like, since I would see them every day, first period, we were all excellent students. And like the accountability that comes with the support system, it's amazing. It's your backbone as like a person, as a man, as a person of color. It's what drives you at most points. There, as well as Dr. Harris said, there is some bad support systems. I remember I played soccer for all my 4 years, and some of my soccer teammates, like they weren't as driven, or they didn't have the same goals as mine that I did. And so you can't really look to lean on a person who isn't leaning back on you, because once you start leaning, you gotta have equal amount of force to go straight up. And so for a support system, as a man of color, or even as a Latinx, as a first generation student, it's hard to find. It's hard because like you can't go home to a support system at most times. There's not much people that understand you. But I think there needs to be more advocacy of ourselves, and we need to start looking out and reaching out to help, because that's where you find most of the people. um, my counselor, Dr. Martinez at Cal State East Bay, I didn't email him for the first like 3 months, just because I didn't know who he was, or I didn't know what was going on. And then after those first 3 months, we have a Zoom meeting, and it was like an eye-opening meeting, and I could feel that Dr. Martinez was supporting me in all my actions that I was doing, and actually cared about like my goals. And so once you go into college, or you go into a different space, you got to make sure that your first step is to find your support system, and make sure you can be supported yourself too. So once you support yourself, you can look for others that have similar goals in mind as you. And once you do that, you're in a comfortable space. And once you're in a comfortable space, anything is possible after that.
That's what I'm talking about. Like that level of comfort and support looks different, right? And I think that you have to be able to like negotiate that, right? And I think you've been able to demonstrate that. Did anybody else have some tips around support systems that I think that that you would think that would help evolve more, and piggyback more on what Brother Martin C was saying?
Yeah, I have something to add. I think to kind of piggyback off of what Martin was saying, for in my experience, there's a huge value in support systems that are beyond just academic as well, because college is more than just the classes you take, and it's more than just the GPA you get. And admittedly, I was a pretty good student in high school. I kept my grades up, but I struggled coming into college because everything was so new and confusing. But MSI provided a space for me that was holistically supportive in the first time, really in my educational journey. I'm from Orange County. Anyone from Orange County can attest to the reality that there's not a lot of Black folks in Orange County. So in growing up, it wasn't until I got to Cal State Fullerton. Actually, it wasn't even until last semester. Last semester was the first time I had a professor who was Black. And when I was in elementary school, I went to an all-white elementary school. And this is just a trend that kind of continues. So for me, I came into a university, and I came into a space where MSI was the first space that said, hold on, I want you to be authentically you. And that was a very weird experience at first, a necessary challenge that I needed, because it pushed me. And I'd say that I finally had the home environment where I was used to having to find a way to make a home in every educational space that I was in. I from my background, I come from a family of immigrants, and so that is the what we're told about education, that education's your key, it's our collective key and our way out. So I was forced to make my own home in education. For the first time, I showed up and they said, we have a home here for you. And so I could flourish, I could grow. And so I was able to get involved in other things. I was able to challenge myself, because I always had a brotherhood, and I had a support network of people who weren't just checking in and saying, hey, how are your grades doing? But also, hold on, how are you doing? I had, I had brothers who would essentially call me out and say, hold on, you're not acting, something's up, something's happening in life, what's up, we need to talk about it. And that held me accountable too, that I'm a human being. I'm not just here to get a GPA to go into my career, I'm a human being here too. And that we all have a right to just exist in this space too. So I feel like a support system that is beyond academic, that's holistically supportive, I know from my experience, makes the world of a difference as to whether or not, I just get a good GPA, or whether or not I really thrive.
Yeah, that was really helpful, Isaac. So I'm going to actually throw in a question that was asked in the chat box by one of our audience members. Thank you, Jill. And the question says, in a previous session, artist Nani Chacon mentioned a powerful statement: I have control as younger brothers, encourage other males to embrace this in spaces that they may not otherwise feel welcomed in. So maybe take a few seconds to process that question. If anybody feels like they've experienced this, where maybe you entered some spaces where you didn't feel welcomed, how did you still have some form of control space?
Okay, I can attest to this somewhat. I used to over the summer I used to take a like certificate courses with I used to take a certificate course doing like data analysis, and I felt a lot of imposter syndrome while I was there because as a person of color in this like Zoom class with a bunch of white students and much older students than me, I didn't feel like I belonged there, and I didn't feel like I had the right to even learn at that pace. I feel like maybe like this isn't for me. And what I had to remember during the class and like during talking to my peers is that you have to play your strengths. You have to know what you are good at. And then once you play your strengths into that space, you have created a path for yourself that is uniquely yours. You don't have to try to be anybody else in that space. You don't have to try to mock anybody else. Once you have your strength and you know that you're good at this and that you like doing this, that space is yours. And once it's yours, that's all you.
I know I can add on to that, 'cause you got me thinking as well. I work in a lot of white dominated spaces. I do a lot of policy work, and it's very common to be in, I think I even tweeted out, it wasn't until last semester as well that it was the first time I saw another Black student in my business classes. And so there was a lot of these hidden narratives within what we learn in the conversations that I have with the other folks in my classes. Um, and I remember some great advice that my boss, Dr. Person, gave me. And I remember we were having a conversation, kind of a heart-to-heart conversation about some frustrations I was dealing with in student government. And I remember her telling me specifically, she said, Isaac, in these spaces, people like what they know. And so when I heard that, I read it as, well, I need to code switch. They like what they know. And so I was like, Dr. P, I can't keep code switching, right? That's not going to work for me. And she said, I didn't tell you to code switch, but I said they like what they know. So if you're going to show up as your whole self, you better show up as your whole self every day, because we're watching and we see it. And it was important for me to know I need to show up in every space I'm in as my full self, because when I hide, especially in these white dominated spaces, when I hide, not only am I diminishing myself and diminishing the work that is taken for me to be here, I'm also taking away the learning lessons for everyone else. When I call out, these uncomfortable positions other people make me, when I call out the microaggressions in these white dominated spaces, and now you're uncomfortable, that's because probably for the first time, you are having to confront the impacts of the racism and the microaggressions you've created. I've been holding on to it. I've learned it because I always shut my mouth and I was uncomfortable. But by calling it out, and now your discomfort is that learning lesson you never got. So I think it's important when you step into these spaces as well, to step into it as the fullness of who you are. I know that's a lesson I got from MSI. Be your honest and full self. Because when you do that, you don't just pave a way for yourself, you pave a road big enough for your community to step into. And I think that that's really big. It's so the next generation, I remember we learned in an MSI retreat, I remember George talking to us and he said, you have to remember to lift as you climb. You can't lift as you climb if you only build a path big enough for yourself. So being honest and authentic in every space also allows other people to be honest and authentic in that space, but it also demonstrates to my community that we can be here too. And so I feel like that's also important. That authenticity is huge because we don't see it often.
So
Wow.
powerful, so powerful. Wow.
I want to add something too. I just want to echo what Martin and Isaac said about, just being your true self. And that I think what I took away from that is that your experiences, your knowledge, your life is valuable, right? And like, I mean, as you continue through life and you go on to your graduate programs and you go into your jobs, you're going to be in these spaces even after you're not in school that you don't feel like you belong. I remember being in graduate school. I did a business master's, and I was like the only Chicano in my classroom, and it was full of white men and people who are really good at math or who have been training for this their whole life. And I remember my supply chain teacher asking us, okay, how can we improve this line? And people are coming out with math equations, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, I do not belong here. Like, even after I got my bachelor's and I've proven it to myself, I'm still second guessing myself. But the teacher kept asking the question over and over. And in my experience, I just raised my hand. I was scared, but I just said, you know, this line needs magazines, or this line needs people who, or toys or things that catch the interest of the people. And he said, that's exactly what I was looking for. And so my linear thinking, which I've grown up my whole life and my experiences have taught me, were valuable in that moment. The lesson the teacher was trying to teach was not everything is from the book. And I was really happy in that moment. And that was a really like self-fulfilling moment for me.
Y'all just dropping some nuggets of bomb information right now. Like, as we say in MSI, y'all are dropping bars. Like, these are true bars. And I think that that's important that we've been able to know that, right? And you've evolved to learn that. I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit and we can go back to some other things. But I think it's important to also dive into like this conversation of like, what does it mean to be a man, right? And also, what does it mean to define the spaces that you are in? And by unlearning some aspects of manhood that may not have been, you know, best fitting for you growing up. And one of those aspects is asking for help. Like, we know that brothers have a difficult time asking for help and also advocating on behalf of themselves. But I think one of our brothers have some stories and like to share about the power of asking for support. And what does that look like, brother?
I think that's me, you know.
Yeah.
So it is a really good question, you know. I mean, I feel that everyone here on this room experienced that, you know. I experienced this when I was like on high school, like especially during my senior year, you know. I was that kind of person that I grew up like telling myself that was like really smart, that I like knew everything. But growing up on a Latino household, that's really hard, you know, because you know you got your grandma and your parents, which are the persons that have the most experience and knowledge. Even though they don't have like experience with technology, trust me, they know more than you. So you know, during my high school, my senior year, when I was gonna apply for college, I didn't know anything. You know, I didn't know how to fill like none of the applications. I didn't know literally how to use a computer. But you know, and then I started asking for help to my teachers, counselors, even my grandma. You know, the way that my grandma kind of helped me was like giving me like good advices. You know, like to support me, to give me like that motivation that I needed to ask for support to other people. Because there's so many people, you know, outside that they know more than you, but they're like willing to help you, which is like really, which I'm really like thankful, you know, because many of them like they don't get paid enough to be doing all this, but they do it because they want it. It comes from their heart, you know. So it feels, I feel really helpful for doing like for that people doing that, you know. But you know, and then after all that happened, you know, like many people like saw me on the office of school, like during all day, you know, like during lunch, during breaks, you know, I was there, you know, asking for help, you know, learning how to fill my applications to go to college. And I still thankful, you know, every time I get like time, I gym with those professors, you know, my counselors from high school, and I thank them every day, you know, for all they did, you know. So yeah, that's my experience, you know.
Thank you, brother. It's so powerful, I think, to unlearn some of those ways in which we were conditioned as brothers or young men not to ask for help. And for you to realize that, you know, you're in a situation now where college is at the forefront, and how you define your support system and how you reach out for help was definitely unique for you, brother. So thanks for sharing that. I think that's important. Um, how do we think of manhood now, right? As you're going into as you're in college or entering into college, Does anybody have like just concepts or unpacking the concepts of what does it mean to be a man? How does that evolved over time for you, or how is that evolving currently for you, Brother Jackson or Brother Martin G? So what does that look like for you right now? Anybody want to speak on that?
For me, I know that that's definitely been a journey throughout my entire time, and I'm still unpacking these concepts and learning more about myself. I think it's twofold, right? Like for me, it's been learning about, okay, this is how society views me as a man. This is how society views our gender, right? And two, like, how do I view my manhood, right? And how do I unpack that? And how do I dismantle those things that are toxic, right? In our male empowerment network, we would meet every week and we would talk about something that was hurting us as young men. And we would talk about things like depression. We would talk about things like womanizing, right? And we would share experiences of like, okay, like my family talked about that the measure of a man was how much money he made or how many women that he got. And there's so much wrong with that statement. As I get older, I learn these things, and you don't learn about the self-harm that you put on yourself when you put bad things into your relationships with others, and or that you don't have the ability or the want to ask for help. How self-harming that is for you as a young man. So it's really important to identify what those toxic behaviors are that you're self-contributing, right? I think of one example as, and I think this was a really like profound example for me. I was speaking at an engagement. It was my first time that my mom was able to see me speak. As a first generation college student, my mom was not really involved, but she was my biggest supporter. And so for the first time to see me speak, I started crying in the middle of my speech. It was a little bit of an ugly cry, so that was the embarrassing part, right? But the fact that like what bothered me, it bothered me so much, and Dr. Went, encouraged me, like, that was so powerful to see you cry on stage in front of other young men. It showed them that they could be vulnerable. So one, at first it bothered me because I cried, because I felt like I looked weak. And now it bothers me that it bothered me. And so we have to identify what those things are and really make a conscious effort. It's not something that's going to happen unintentionally.
Yeah, man, that was really powerful. I completely agree with everything that you said, especially the vulnerability aspect. I think also as a Latinx person, the facade of a man to you, like brought onto us when we're kids, is it's very different as you start growing up. As you said, like people measure your manhood by how many women you have, how much money you're making, how much you're providing for your family. And sometimes that is like when you're growing up, that's the thing that you're focusing on, and like that's the measure of how well your day is going. Like, oh, did I provide for my family? Am I make sure my people okay? And I think as a man, we have a responsibility to also look at ourselves. We have to look into the mirror and know what is that we need and what we need from our peoples too, because we often, the men do provide in a family situation, but you need to also understand that you need to get watered on as well, you know. And once you guys all start watering your plants, your garden grows together. But your garden can't grow from a single tree.
Beautiful, beautiful brothers, beautiful. You've gotten there, right? And you're consistently growing. I love to hear from Brother Jackson. Like, what is the concept of manhood, of what to unlearn unhealthy masculinities? What is it looking like for you to water those positive aspects of masculinity, even while you're in high school?
At a younger age, when I was growing up, everyone taught me that being a man means to be strong, not to cry, um, take care of your wife. That's what everyone's been telling me. But sixth grade, when I got to when I joined the 100 Black Men of Orange County, I was open to so much because my mentors were telling me that being a man does not only mean to be strong and to take care of your family financially and mentally, but it's to get help also and not feeling weak to get help. And that me sitting there in sixth grade was like, what? No, that's not what being a man is. And because that's what, when I was younger, I was taught so much differently. And I'm so glad that I've listened, because I was about to tune out when I heard something differently. But I'm so glad that I opened my eyes and ears to really do listen about what being a man actually means. And then when I went to Bosco for 2 years, a really good school, really good private school, and they also taught me what being a man really means. And it really did help me growing up, because if I never got that support when I was at the 100 Black Man or when I was at Bosco, I would never really know what being a man really means. And what really helped me a lot is that I was surrounded by great men. I was surrounded by my dad, who didn't grow up with a dad, but who is an amazing dad. And he did not let having a father in his life bother him, because he takes care of me really good. And I appreciate my dad, and I thank my dad every day for the stuff that he's done for me. So I had my dad, I had my uncle who was a mentor at the 100 Black Men. I have my friends who were really good people at the 100 Black Men. I had really good friends at Bosco who were doing good things. And then just seeing that, having that around me, having those good people in my environment really did help me grow as a person and as a man. And then when I got to Milliken, the same thing. I'm surrounded by great group of people that really did help me build up. And I just really do appreciate that, because, you know, younger me, I never thought that I would, understand what being a man really means. And I'm so glad that I didn't, keep that same mindset that being a man means all these kinds of different things. And I'm just so glad what I really know what being a man really means now.
Yeah, that was really powerful, Jackson. And I think it just goes a long way into, right, that experience that you're taught so many things at a young age and you internalize all those things, and then you're being told something else and you're having to like deconstruct, and you're having to ask yourself what was real, what was not real, what do I hold on to versus what do I start practicing now. But what I love hearing you say is that you've taken a lot of this insight and wisdom and you've allowed it to help you grow and evolve as a person, which is an everlasting thing, right? I always tell my students, I wake up every day trying to be a better version of myself, right? Even if it's the smallest thing that I can improve upon, right? Because that's what's going to help me get to that next level in life, where I want to be for myself and for my family. And so I think the things that you shared, Jackson, were incredible. And just because I want to just be mindful of time, I saw that Jill put another great question. I believe it was Jill, and I'm gonna read it off to y'all, and hopefully you each can take your time to share. That's why I said I want to be mindful of time, because I want you all to share what is real to you, no matter how short or how long, with us not having to worry about going over time. And so the question is, Nani Chacon, again, in a previous presentation, brought up, you all as young men have the attention of the world right now. And so the question is, what do you want to say to the world right now? And so maybe we can start off with Rodney, and then we'll just keep it going.
Not to be like abstract or anything, but I wouldn't really say anything to the world. I'm more of a show, not tell type of person. So what I would want to show to the world is just look at all of like my accomplishments. I'm a Black engineer, so I'm already like I stick out like a sore thumb. So I just want to show, I can talk all day, but when people like actually see my accomplishments, see my inventions and stuff, you can't really do anything but just be in awe and be amazed.
Yeah, I wanna piggyback off Rodney, because I do believe as a young generation we show what we've done, and we're like, hey, look what we've done. And that's what I want to say to the world. I want to say, look what I've done in the past 6 months. Look at all the accomplishments that I've done in these past 6 months. imagine what I can do in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. I just want to let you know that I'm looking for opportunity.
I go next, So I just want to say to the world, that everyone, it is important because I feel that every person, it is unique, you know. I have heard like so many people saying like, oh, I want to be like him. But I feel that like us, we need to learn that we need to be unique, to be better than that person instead to be like just like them. But I feel that we just need to get better. And that's what I have.
I would tell the world that I made it because I remember in sixth grade, seventh and eighth grade, my teachers specifically told me separately by myself that I was not going to go to college because of how much of a troublemaker I was and how dumb I was. And they told me that they said that I was not going to be able to go to college and everything. I was just going to be another person on the street. And I'm really glad that they said that because that really did push me to be the person who I am today. And I'm really glad that they said that because now, getting accepted into Northern Arizona really did, really did make me happy because I'm like, hey, they said that I couldn't go to college, but look at me, I got accepted into Northern Arizona, and I just want to say that I made it, and they were wrong.
First of all, Jackson, welcome to my state, man. Secondly, I think I would use that opportunity to point the spotlight back at them, right? And I would say, look at all these young men in this Zoom today who are thriving and who are still organizing and advocating and speaking and doing all of these amazing things with all the obstacles that have been placed here. And so what are you gonna do to make it easier for our next generation? Because the hoops that we're jumping through can be removed. There can be justice. There can be all of these changes that can be made, but it takes an effort, and we cannot be the only voices talking about this.
All right, we got all okay. We got all those brothers to share that. I know we're wrapping up with time, and we do want to make sure we get some more questions in from the audience. So if you have any more questions, please let us know. I think that it's important because we do wrap this up right in understanding that this conference, the summit, is really about the high school students' perspective, right? But we have a variety of perspectives on this panel. And I think it's important to note that first generation family dynamics are different, right, than those brothers who've attended college. But also first generation high school students who are going, right, who are going to a college, they need to hear some advice, right? And I think that advice, particularly around family dynamics, is crucial because guess what? Who do you go home to every day? Or who do you have to navigate around your studies and negotiate time with? So can anyone share what type of advice you wish you would have known in high school to help you prepare to navigate college, particularly when it comes around first generation dynamics? And what would that advice be that you would give your high school self?
I'll hop on that right now, Ms. Dr. Harris. As a first generation high school student and college student, my mother and my father, my dad's from Mexico and my mom immigrated here from Guatemala. They're both very hardworking. Like my mom's been working since 5 a.m. since my older brother was little. And the thing that you first generation parents always tell you to do is do good in school, go to school, attend, get good grades, and like you get like a good grade on your test and they're like, oh, why didn't you get 100% type of thing? And then you're all discouraged. What you have to understand is for them, this is also new. You can't expect them to be on the same page with you if you don't say that. And that's one thing I regret in high school. I regret not having my family involved. I regret not making sure that I let them know what was I doing, what was going on, like why I'm doing this, and let them know what type of person you are. Because even at home, usually, like as a first generation student and as a person of color at home, you're a different person than who you are at school, and that causes a big divide in the understanding of who you are as a person for your parents and your support system. So you, again, going back to being your true and honest self, you want to make sure that you are your true and honest self, especially in front of your parents. You want to make sure that you know that you've already said enough, or you said everything to them, to make sure that they understand who you are and where you're coming from.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
And if I don't know if there's enough time, but if I'm able to piggyback off of that.
Yeah.
So also for me, to a university or college, like at all, my issue was that I didn't have enough support or motivation to continue like with education. So like my parents just expected me, to just like graduate from high school, and like after that it was kind of like up to me, like you can go to college if you want to, sort of thing. And they didn't have the money, so it wasn't like they could like force me to go. So that's where I came from. So it was hard for me to make sense of like grades mattering for me. Like I was always good with like math and science, but it was hard for like GPA and stuff for that to matter. So the advice that I would give to like my high school self and anyone that comes from like a family like that, where you kind of have to set your own motivation for yourself, no one else is like forcing you to do stuff, is that GPAs matter a lot more than I thought they did. They matter for internships, scholarships, and also when you're just trying to get grants and stuff. Like basically like all your hard work pays off, which is what I wish I would have known in high school. Another thing is just to try everything. I was going to be an architect up until my senior year of high school, and I took a computer science class, and that's when I changed my major or not changed my major, but that's when I applied to universities for computer engineering. So I would just say to try everything, and especially for me, I didn't really have a lot of like, my parents weren't allowed to put me in a lot of programs and stuff. Like I know some students are, some people that are like white, they have like parents that are able to put them in all these programs that they can be in. I didn't really have that. So school and talking to people that were in those positions, that's what gave me the option to be able to know what's out there. So I would just say try everything, and grades matter.
There's so much advice we could share, right, with our high school selves. Not to, spotlight you, Brother Jackson, but what are some advice what are some questions you think you might still have about entering into the college world, that one of our brothers or two of our brothers might be able to answer for you? We want to celebrate our young future, and you are the future, brother. So you have a question that you think you might still be thinking about as you prepare for college?
Yeah, just going into a new college with, not knowing anyone, not, having any friends. I've done that when I transferred out of Bosco, making new friends, but I understand that high school and college is a lot different. And I'm more worried about like me finding a new study group, because I know it's going to be hard to most definitely find a study group in college, because most people in college, especially university, just want to party or do other things that doesn't involve school. And I want to find a study group because I don't want to fall into, the wrong group of people and the wrong group of friends. And then, there goes my whole 4 years just wasted. Um, I want to know, like, what should I do, and how do I make new friends at a big college like that, and when can I find these people?
So I kind of went through that as well. Being an introvert and trying to find my space. But I kind of had a cheat code with MSI, but besides out of MSI, I also made connections with friends as well. I would tell you that you have that mindset going into college, right? Every single other person has that mindset as well. So making friends is in this new space, right? Every single freshman, they're like, wow, like I'm here, like who can I meet? So making connections will be there. So it's up to you to find out what type. So if I were you right now, I would kind of make a list of the type of people. Not saying that like if someone doesn't make that list that you like, oh, we can't be friends, but just kind of try to figure out what type of people you want to put yourself around, you know? And then like from there, you can just determine, okay, maybe I'm gonna hang out with them a little less and try to, you know. So it's really up to you. It's really up to you. But making friends, trust me, you'll make tons of friends.
Yeah, Jackson. I wanna make sure, just to piggyback off Rodney, that list is super important, and it makes you available to keep an open mind. I don't want you to like only join the clubs that you would like to join because you like those things. There must be some weird club that you never heard of, and then you should just join it for whatever reason, and you're gonna find people in that have similar values as you, because we are unique, but we all follow the same patterns, and we all are looking to strive. And so I need you to like keep an open mind and make sure you venture off, because you can't I don't want you to stay on this narrow path and feel restricted, because that's when it's troubling to find people who are truly compatible with you. Make sure that you branch off.
I want to add one more thing too. Jackson, keep doing these types of things. Man, I can't tell you how many people are going to gravitate towards you, because I already love you as like, I just been shared this space with you for less than an hour. But just being who you are and sharing your stories and being authentic is really just, people are going to gravitate towards you, man. You're going to have too many friends. You're just going to have to distinguish who are those friends and who are those brothers, right? Who are those people that I want to support myself with and thrive with? And who are those people I just like to, go study with or do those other things with? You know what I mean?
If I can echo really quickly off of something that I know was said to that point of, I think as important as it is to come in with this idea of, being sure that you're focused on your grades and making sure that you can succeed well, also remember that you are a human being. And it's okay. And in fact, I work with folks in my own community and high school students as they help understand college. And we help. I remember we were putting together panels where we brought alumni back from the college, like first generation alumni from that high school that went to college, coming back to say, here's what college actually is beyond the scare tactics I think teachers can tend to use in high school about how it's just about studying and everything. That college is so much bigger than that. Yes, you do well in your classes, but you're also going to have classes that are really challenging in a good way that push you. You're going to have classes where I remember my first semester, I took a class in geology and it's literally just studying rocks, but I have a professor who was so interesting that I loved it. Right. So you're going to have classes that push you in places you weren't ready to. You're going to have friends that'll push you in ways that you may not have known you were going to go. And I think keep being open to experience the world a little bit. Again, I would say there's nothing wrong with partying as long as you're doing it responsibly and you're still, measuring it through your grades. But also, if you are only ever focusing on your classes and only ever focusing on your grades, college will suck. It's not going to be fun. And it's supposed to be a very fun and enjoyable experience. So remember, you're a human being. You're supposed to enjoy this, right? As important as your GPA is, because it is critically important, it is not the signifier for your value in life, right? You are a human being who has to enjoy this experience as well, because you're only going to get it once. And you want to be able to look back and go, okay, I made the most out of it in every way possible.
Yeah,
I
I
just,
love that you said that, Isaac. Marco, I'll let you go. I love that you said that, Isaac, because a lot of times, right, when people ask me about my college experiences, I can't even recall the classes that I took, but I can recall the amazing experiences that I made with the friends that I made during that time period, right, or the different places that I traveled because I joined different organizations. And so, yeah, definitely make the most out of this experience. Don't overwhelm yourself with feeling like all you need to focus is on grades, or then sometimes students have a part-time job in addition to school, right, and then it decreases time that you can ever make to stay on campus and get involved and be a part of that school spirit. And so I just really wanted to say that I loved what you said, Isaac, amongst what I've loved what everybody else has said. But go for it, Marco. I know you were about to share something too.
right, thank you. So I know many of my, like everyone here give you so many great advices, but remember, always follow your heart, my dad always used to tell me that people come and go, you know, but you know, the people that who want to like see you like shine, you know, those are the ones that are gonna stick by your side like 24/7, like no matter what. So yeah, that's all good.
Like y'all have just brightened this Friday even more in sunny California and just provided so much insight, right? I think that that's just so valuable, especially to hear from our brothers, right? The individuals who often are discounted, right? The brothers who are often told that you can't be, right? But I think that you're clear representations that you are not products of your environment only, but you are also products of your self expectations. And that's just so powerful to see that because you represent who you are authentically, but also your expectations for yourself. So I know we only have about 7 or 6 minutes left. So, Brother Antonio, do you want to just do like a round robin of final comments, or how would you like to close us out?
Yeah, I think some final comments from the brothers, even as it pertains to their experience being in this space, and what it's meant for them, and what they hope it can mean moving forward for these type of events.
I just wanted to say that thank you for the advice. Um, College is going to be a scary thing for me coming as a freshman, but I know it's going to be a fun experience at the same time. Hearing you guys talk about you guys' college experience really did help me a lot. Seeing that I'm not the only one who went through, you know, being nervous and everything. So I'm just so glad that I have a group of people who share the same thing as me, and you know, giving the experience and just the advice really does help me a lot, and I really do appreciate it.
If I were to wrap up like everything that's on my mind at the moment and kind of put it in a sentence, I would say I'm a very religious person, and I believe you know, everyone has that question like, why am I put on this earth? Like, what's my purpose? And at one end, I feel like, you know, you make your purpose up as you go, as long as it's in like God's will. But on the other end, I feel like we are all individually put on this world for someone else, for others, you know. So like, and if you keep that same mentality, like that I'm put on this world for someone else, that helps you see like the bigger picture, and helps you see like, well, like maybe my cousins, my niece and nephew, my family members, maybe they need me, but even like someone else that I don't even know that's like looking at me, you know, maybe they need me. So that's just something you can interpret it in however you want to, but just understand that you're put on this world for others.
Yeah, Rodney, I completely agree with you. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to even go to college and pursue my education. And in Spanish, we have a saying. It's called echar a mano, which is like reach down and give a hand, because that's the whole reason why we're here, man. That's why our parents gave us a hand. The people, the thing we're doing right now on this panel, we're giving a hand to others that might not even be looking at it, but will one day see the value in this. And like, I hope one day I can also come back as a host or whatever and talk on this panel or talk to other people like you guys, and just keep reaching down and giving hands, because it only brings us all up together. And someday you're gonna need a hand, or you need a hand right now, and somebody will be there for you.
I think I can add on to that. That one thing I've been thinking about a lot, especially to empower, you know, our next generation of young men of color as well, is to recognize that even when you walk into these spaces that aren't made for you, because inevitably you will, right? When you come into these spaces that aren't made for you, know that you don't stand there alone and you don't stand there by yourself. With you is your community. I know for me, what feels most important is that with me is my ancestry. I know the effort it took for me to be able to stand in this room. And excuse my French, there's not a damn thing that's going to get in my way when I'm in these rooms too. And I think that that level of empowerment can be helpful because only you know the true power you have. But there was a commitment that was made generations before you got here, so that way you could be here. So make sure when you're here, you're fully yourself.
All right. Was that every? We got Okay, go ahead, brother.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to mention one last thing about this is an experience, and a couple of you mentioned this a little bit, but college is an experience where you can really push yourself and challenge yourself. So again, just remember that you belong, and take those steps into those leadership roles, speaking engagements. For the most part, if it feels uncomfortable, it's pushing you. So think about, is this something that's going to make me better? Because it's all about growth. And so when you step into those leadership positions and you put yourself in a position to where you're holding yourself to a higher standard, it holds yourself accountable. You know that other people are looking up to you. And every single day, like Dr. Martinez said, we should be trying to be better than the person we were yesterday.
And Brother Marcos, did you say some final comments?
I don't have many, but I just want to add up to what Martin said. Like I feel that having the back, like, of someone else, like helping someone else, it is something so important nowadays, because you never know what's gonna happen. You right now might be like, okay, you're doing okay, but you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. Like you never know. So it's always good to have someone that you can trust, and that that person is gonna have your back, no matter what. And yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. And all the brothers went, right? I got everybody. Okay, cool. Well, you all, this has been such an amazing opportunity to share this space with you. I know me and Dr. Martinez, like, we do this for our work, right? This is the type of career that we got into, but like a lot of this is based off of the knowing that your futures matter, and your lived experiences matter. And we are going to hold universities and K-12 systems accountable for making sure that the spaces that you are in are created for you, and not in a not reshaping it to fit the comforts of other students, but specifically for you, right? So important for us to realize that and keep that at the forefront. So I want to turn it over to Dr. Martinez. He has any closing comments as we wrap up this hearing his story.
I just want to say thank you all for joining us in this very special and powerful space that was created and that we've held, I think, collectively. And I think this is just one of many more spaces that these amazing young brothers are going to be in as they continue to influence in a positive way, just the younger generations and even generations that they fit into. We just try to make the world a better place, right? I think that's the ultimate goal, is just to try to have the world be a better place in one way or another. I know there's still a long way to go, but meeting other young men like all of you just continue to gives us hope. I know it gives me hope. I'm sure it gives Dr. Harris hope. I saw that Jill said that it gives them hope as well. So just know that every day that you wake up, you are a blessing. And we've been blessed today by all of you. So thank you so much.